All right, we'll return to the open meeting at this time. We'll begin the evening with our pledge. Ms. Eldridge.
Good evening. It is my honor to introduce our pledge leader tonight, Violetta Zhakovsky, 7th grader at Willow Springs Middle School. Violetta has a favorite subject at Willow Springs Middle School, and that is mathematics. She shines as a leader in the classroom and in multiple arts programs on our campus. She plays the violin and enjoys art class. Her teachers describe her as creative, kind, engaged, and open to the challenges of learning. She will now lead us in the pledges.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now for the Texas Pledge. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Here you go.
All right, next up tonight is our celebration of learning. Dr. Tinsley.
Thank you. Have the pleasure tonight of, we're going to be spotlighting a really wonderful program here in Lovejoy, our transition program. And to take the lead on this tonight is Miss Allison Clont. She's our Director of Special Education. And she has some special guests tonight. They're going to be sharing information about our transition program in Lovejoy ISD.
Good evening. We're so excited to be here. It was a really special night. A little earlier, we had the opportunity to do a ribbon cutting in a kitchen just down the hallway that we had put together here with our Transition Academy. So Transition Services provide young adults from 18 to 22. So it's students that have completed their academic instruction at the high school, but have the opportunity to stay on to work on specific skills. So we work on employability. We're working on job coaching and figuring out what will be the best job for a student or volunteer for a student. We're working on independent living skills, so we will utilize the kitchen that's right next door to work on those independent living skills. And then educational support. So I put just a few of bullet points up here, and then we've got some great pictures. But I don't want to do the talking. I would love to introduce, or I'd love my friends to introduce themselves. Miss Carol Foster is our Transition Academy teacher, and we have Deb Tedder, and Miss Deb Tedder is right back there. She's one of our job coaches, and then speech and language pathologist is Mary Steen. But I am going to have some students come on up. Trenton, come on up. Introduce yourselves.
I am Trenton Gant. My name is Trenton Gant. I go to the Lovejoy Academy School. My favorite job is at the Lovejoy High School cafeteria and Market Street. Miss Foster has taught me at Lovejoy High School and the Lovejoy Academy I go to. I am glad I go to the Lovejoy Academy School.
your name, introduce yourself. Introduce yourself.
My name is Reagan Jackson. I go to school at the Lovejoy Academy. I help the football team. I help the football team.
Good job, Reagan.
My name is Avery Jordan. I have learned a lot in the academy, and I think I am ready to go find a place to volunteer at. Thank you so much for the wonderful kitchen that you guys have made for us.
And I'm Carol Lorraine Foster. I'm the current teacher of the Lovejoy Academy. And the support you have given, the things you've done thus far, and supporting this program and making it grow, it's going to live so far beyond me. And I'm so proud of this kitchen and the things that we've done, because I know that whoever is there, it will be a great program because Lovejoy's put so much into it, and it's very much appreciated.
Hi, I'm Deborah Tedder. We are thrilled with our new kitchen. I feel privileged to work with these students and help them build job skills and safety awareness that they can take into their homes and out into the community. Thank you.
So like some of our students shared, we've got kiddos that are working at Market Street. We've got, they've done some job shopping, so they've learned different skills at different, either a restaurant or we've got Men's Warehouse. We're working at the high school right now. Reagan does some things in the football field. So they're learning all sorts of job skills, and so we're so happy and so proud of everything they're doing, and we thank y'all for supporting us.
All right, thank you for that presentation, and we as a board had a chance to go to the ribbon cutting earlier with each of the transition students and their families and staff, and it was really awesome program. We're grateful to be a part of it. So recognitions tonight. We're excited to recognize the City of Lucas, Mayor Dusty Kuykendall, and Fire Chief Ted Stevens. Ms. Cordell.
Oh, I forgot I had to speak. I was just going to run up there with your certificate. But we want to make sure that the City of Lucas and Mayor Kuykendall and Chief Stevens know how grateful we are for their collaboration and their partnership. We always, first and foremost, want to keep our students safe, and it is much easier to have plans in place to do that when you have partners like them in our community. I don't know if you all know this, but Chief Stevens has been a longtime partner of Lovejoy ISD, and for years and years has offered his services and the services of his team to make sure so many of our staff are CPR trained so that we're ready to take care of our students. But I am so excited about what this drone program represents for our school district and our community, and also what the collaboration represents for the future possibilities of what we can do for our students, staff, and community. So thank you.
Well, maybe more show without moving. We're not launching yet today. But yes, the drone is here. It's a collaborative effort. We're very excited to partner with Lovejoy. And so it's sitting here. You guys can, I'll get Casey or somebody to bring it to us tomorrow. You guys, that way the audience can look at it. Board members, thank y'all very much. And y'all can look at it as well.
Board of Trustees, I thank you guys so much for the coordinated effort on this. It's something that we'd had early conversations about ways to work together. I think it's important for us to show how we can work together, and this is, I hope, to be first of many opportunities that as a city we can do joint efforts that benefit both of us. This just being one of those that our fire department has very much needed and can use so many times, but also benefits the school at large functions, events, and really gets us ready. So we thank you guys for the hard work that goes into that, and we look forward to many, many more joint efforts. Thank you.
All right, next up, staff recognitions. Dr. Travis Zambezi.
Members of the board, Superintendent Cordell, thank you so much for having us tonight. It is an honor to honor two wonderful staff members for staff recognitions at tonight's board meeting. Standing over there, Assistant Athletic Director and Head Cross Country Coach Carly Littlefield and Head Cross Country Coach Logan Kelly, before we go into some of their accomplishments, are the epitome of what it means to be just a fantastic educator. And when we talk about legacy of excellence in Lovejoy ISD, the definition is standing right over there. We are just so blessed to have them not only accomplish great things through state championships and things like that you'll see on this next slide, but also with the types of human beings that they develop. They do it from a complete lifestyle, social, and then obviously academic and athletic side, and we could not be more proud to have them here. And so the first one we'll focus on Coach Littlefield, and check out all of those awards. In addition to her state runner-up finish, Coach Littlefield, THSCA Regional Coach of the Year, 2023 National High School Athletic Coaches Association Coach of the Year finalist. That's the top 8 for the entire country. 2023 National Federation of State High School Associations, 2023 CCCAT 5A State Coach of the Year in cross country. And then, as you can see, since her coaching career really began with both her individual and then team accomplishments, we could not be more proud. So let's give her another round of applause. And next up, Coach Logan Kelly. We would like to honor him for his accomplishments. He was the 2023-2024 NHSACA Coach of the Year for the State of Texas Boys Cross Country and a top 8 finalist in the nation. 2024 Texas Boys Cross Country Coach of the Year. 2023 Texas High School Coaches Association Boys Cross Country Coach of the Year. 22 and 23 Texas High School Coaches Association Region 3 Cross Country Boys Coach of the Year, and then numerous other accolades. And so, Coach Kelly, we appreciate you and thank you for all you do. All right, and now I have the honor of reintroducing Coach Carly Littlefield and Coach Logan Kelly, and they are going to take us through our student recognitions, which is our girls cross country team, and right after that, our boys cross country team.
All right, well, thank you all for having us tonight, and thank you for that amazing recognition. I am going to introduce these girls really quickly, and then I will speak about them. Cameron Benson, Bridget Bernal, Campbell Lester, oh, that was out of order, Sophia Dominguez, Sophie Brooks, Jocelyn Chapman, and Harper James. So this group has one senior and the rest are juniors, and the commitment, discipline, work ethic, everything that they are is simply amazing. They are amazing human beings. They are active far beyond just the running and the awards that you see. Just A students, best buddies, pals, anything, NHS, everything you can imagine is what they are. They have improved so much this year to get to where they are. This was not an easy road, and they worked their tails off. to be district champions, regional champions, and state runner-up. And I am so proud of them, and I know our community is so proud of you guys, and love you.
All right, well, good evening. Thank you all for having us this evening. I have the honor of recognizing our boys state champion cross-country team this year. First up, we have Tristan Arsenault. Next, we have William Carlson, Tyler Moorfield, Joey Reed, Jack Thompson, and Aaron Wimbish. This group of guys, they're just awesome. This is my 11th year here at Lovejoy. They're back-to-back state champions this year, which is quite the accomplishment. We've won 18 district championships in a row. We have won 9 regional championships now in a row, and this is our 5th state championship for the boys program in our history of our program. So it's quite the accomplishment. These guys work super hard. They faced a lot of adversity this year. We had 2 key injuries. Guys that ran on our team last year, we lost them to injury. We had a senior that was on our state championship last year. He moved this summer. So that was a big hit for our team. We were the favorite to come in this year, and these guys really stepped up and rose to the challenge. I'm super proud of them, and I know your school and community, your parents are super proud of you. So congratulations, guys. Let's give them a big round.
All right, thank you. Next up would be public comments related to agenda items for the November 18, 2024 agenda.
No comments this evening.
No public comments tonight. Okay, if you could join me for our invocation. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this opportunity to celebrate our kids tonight, to celebrate our educators, our administrators, and thank you so much for our community leaders that are here with us this evening. Lord, just bless us with discernment and let us follow your will in doing our work this evening, and watch over our families. In Christ's name, amen. All right, notification items, item 10, they're in your packet for your review. Item 11 is our consent agenda. Is there anything anyone wants reviewed? And if not, I'd consider a motion.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
So moved, Jeff Wood.
Second.
Second, Marvin Bobo. All in favor? Opposed? All right, thank you for that. Item 12 is consider and act on the board legislative priorities. Turn it over to Mr. James.
All right, so we have, I don't think we made any changes to the draft that we presented at the last meeting. We've dressed it up a little bit and put it on, have had some, basically made it more presentable as a document that the community can use whenever they're, if they want to be aligned with what we've set out as our priorities. I guess I have one last opportunity to see if there's any comments or questions about the priorities. I think we've made it, tried to align it this year to be something that we can utilize to find alignment with legislators to find common ground. And I think by utilizing this as our priorities, being able to, number one, invest in the Texas public school children, doing that through the different areas where we can find common ground in very specific areas of safety and security, special education, GT programs, pre-kindergarten, and then going all the way through and talking about the different areas where we can improve funding for the kids in our district. Number two, speaking very specifically for something that impacts us directly here in Lovejoy, investing in the extracurricular opportunities, and that's both academically, fine arts, and athletics. We have very high participation in those areas, but it's expensive to fund all these programs. So trying to find ways to increase funding in those areas, I think and these are areas, whether it's in Section 1 or Section 2, the way I envision this being most powerful, if people in the community are utilizing these priorities, if we choose to adopt them, is by telling your own personal stories. If these are areas where your families have had experience in any of these programs and that's been impactful for your family, telling your story to your legislators and the people that can craft the legislation to help us in these areas is where it's going to make a difference. So that's why we've tried to get more specific to make it impactful on where it can definitely move the needle for us here locally. And then number three, the supporting the community-focused governance. This is just really speaking to the point of that number one sentence there. The best decisions about student learning, I believe, are made closest to the student, and letting us continue to work as a board and as a community here locally to do what's right for the kids here in our classrooms. And that's what we want to make sure we keep the ability to do that and have those conversations as well. So that's how we laid out the priorities. I think the team did a great job in the graphic design on this, and I guess if there aren't any other questions or comments, we could move to approve.
Thank you, Jason. I might add one little comment about priority two. You know, one of the things that we talked about with, that we've discussed is the amount of students in Lovejoy that participate in extracurricular activities, and that number's in the, I believe it's in the 90s.
You would be correct if we include everything. UIL, I think Dr. Zambezi, UIL alone is at about 80.
So UIL alone, if you just looked at just UIL, you're looking somewhere around 75%. But if you actually look at, you go into things like curricular and non-curricular club participation at the high school, you're well into the 80s, maybe, and then maybe close to that 90 number.
Well, in the gist of the point I was going to make is that as kids find their passion, culture certainly is easy to resonate because they find a way to be connected to the opportunities to be in schools, to be in programs, and they want to find a way to achieve highly, to be a part of the culture, and to be high achievers. And I think it's one of the things that makes us unique, and it's one of the things that allows kids to find their passion and to excel in their academics. So I think the basis behind that particular one is one I'm excited about as a new priority or a new way to convey that priority to folks to think differently about what does success look like in academics. Well, it's about kids finding their passion and wanting to be involved in the things that they're doing. So it's a pretty basic idea, but I think it resonates big with the culture commitments. So with that, if there's no other comments, we'd consider a motion to approve our priorities for our legislative activities.
I move that we adopt the Lovejoy ISD legislative priorities as presented.
So moved, Julie McLaughlin. Second, Mark Wheelis. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. All right, item 13 is just a quick update on our legislative subcommittee.
Yeah, we had another meeting with the subcommittee recently. One, going over the priorities again and looking at the new the draft. Number two, we did get a brief update from our people in Austin that are consulting and telling us first kind of recap of the election results and some of the changes in the legislative body. We're utilizing that information to start the process of trying to set meetings with people that we can start talking to pre-session. We're developing a calendar that's going to be more of a working document to kind of frame how we pace out our legislative advocacy efforts. And the first part over the next month or so, I think, really is just trying to start having the conversations with people locally and other members of the new delegation in Austin. I think we'll plan on a couple of meetings down in Austin, one probably prior to the session and another one after the session commences, so that we then will have the full committee, the education committees, knowing who the people are that we'll be wanting to set meetings with and present these priorities that now that we've adopted to continue to further those relationships and find the common ground to keep things moving forward. So that's where we are as a committee right now.
Thank you, Jason. Anything to add, Joe?
Yeah, I would just add that, there's a lot of legislation that's been pre-filed. I think it was something like, Julie, wasn't it like 1,500 pieces of legislation pre-filed on day one? Looked at some of it. It's way too early to look at all of it, and some of that stuff will start to come together, but probably not until after committees are appointed with those chairs. And then Katie and I attended a Collin County Education Summit at Collin College, and it was very interesting to learn a lot about what partnerships Collin College has made with universities and how much impact they're having with students in our area. And it was also a good time to talk with other board members from other districts, and a lot of legislative staffers were there. And so a few connections were made, and we'll have a few more doors to knock on than usual.
Thank you, gentlemen, for those updates. Item 14 tonight is discussion and possible action on a resolution to cast a ballot for the Collin CAD Board of Directors. We've been fortunate enough to have list, and we've been fortunate enough to have Mr. Bobo volunteer to be one of those directors, to be nominated. And so we have our official ballot here. So are we casting for Marvin, correct? All of our votes are going for Marvin? Is that accurate, Katie?
That would be a decision of the board.
So the general thought to cast our votes for Marvin, obviously, to help get him elected. So I'll open it for discussion, but we would consider action to cast a ballot for that board of directors and to support Marvin.
I'll make a motion to cast the 62 votes for the Collin CAD Board of Directors for Marvin and adopt the resolution.
So move, Mark Wheelis. Second, Julie McLaughlin. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Barrett, if it's all right, I thought it might be good for us to clarify why this is so important for the district. So the Collin County, the appraisal district, does the work of tax appraisal and collection on behalf of the district. Basically, they're the primary body that helps us pull in tax revenue for the district. As the appraisal boards make changes on how they choose to assess property value, that can have a downstream impact in the school district. And we're definitely seeing that with Tarrant County. And they've adopted some changes with how they're planning to assess property values that are going to definitely impact the school districts in their areas. So I would say that this is a proactive step that we're taking as a board to try to make sure that Lovejoy's interests are represented at the appraisal board, which is just such an important part of how we collect our tax revenue. Katie would correct me if I said anything incorrectly.
Thank you, Julie, for that clarification and information. So Marvin, congratulations.
Thanks, appreciate it. Let's see how this works out. Had some pretty stiff competition in the other school districts, but we'll see what we can do.
Well, you're going to be great if we do get you on there, so we appreciate you being willing. Item 15 is consider approval of the City of Lucas interlocal agreement. Mr. Percival. Let me back up. He said we had a motion to second, but no vote, so I'm getting ahead of myself. All those in favor of casting those votes for Marvin, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate it. Well, we voted twice. We love you that much, Marvin. All right, item 15 is to consider the approval of the City of Lucas interlocal agreement.
Good evening. I would like to bring forward for consideration an interlocal agreement between the Lovejoy School District and the City of Lucas to provide shuttle service for remote parking for an event that will be scheduled, a city event, the Country Christmas event, to be specific, on December 6th between 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. The city would like to utilize 6 drivers and 6 of our buses during that event, beginning at 5:30 and wrapping up at 9:30 to assist with remote parking for the Christmas event housed at the city. And I'm happy to answer any questions. There is a copy of the interlocal agreement in your board packet.
So before we consider that, I'm going to abstain because I'm one of the sponsors of the Country Christmas for the City of Lucas. My company is. I don't think it's a big deal, but just in case someone gets bent out of shape, I'm going to abstain on the vote. So with that, we consider the interlocal agreement for consideration.
And the City of Lucas is going to reimburse the school district for our expenditures?
The City of Lucas will be charged $35 per hour for our drivers and the usage of the bus, which will include fuel and wear and tear. Yes.
It seems like a good partnership. I move that we approve the City of Lucas interlocal agreement.
Second. So moved, Julie McLaughlin, seconded by Jeff and Marvin. All in favor? Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, item 16 is a draft 25-26 school calendar. Ms. Koenig and team.
Thank you. Dr. Zambezi and I are going to go over this, and I just want everyone to realize it is a draft, and we're just starting the process. And I know a calendar is never easy to develop, but we just want to kind of talk with you a little bit about what our requirements were. Of course, we have to have the 75,600 instructional minutes. We also include 2 bad weather makeup days, which we did not have to use this past year. We have to look at the TEC code, Texas Education Code 21.401, that says a teacher work day, contract day is 187 days. That's written in code. And we also, we look at everything in the SAW, the Student Attendance Accounting Handbook, which includes CTE minutes, includes teacher professional development days, all those types of requirements. So those are some of our parameters that we definitely want to follow there. We also, just for considerations, we hoping to do something similar to what we did this past year, 24, 25, so it's not a completely new calendar, but very similar. Selfishly for the HR department, we look at 45 days prior to the first day of instruction, just so that we're competing, because that's where teachers can, 45 days prior to the first day of instruction, someone can leave their contract and that doesn't leave us hanging with a position that we may not fill. So that's a very important day looking at first day of instruction. Also, I pulled information from the Collin County College to look at their spring break, which is March 16th through the 22nd, because we have a lot of kids in dual credit that do participate. Spring holiday, they had that. April 3rd is, of course, Good Friday, Easter weekend. One thing that we felt was somewhat challenging this year is Memorial Day is really early. So this year, in 2025, it is, and that date is wrong on there, it is the 24th for 2025, but the next year in 2026, it's May 23rd. So it's really early, and you're trying to get 187 days before then, so we're not coming back after Memorial Day. And then, of course, we look at balancing semesters. Fall in this calendar is 81 days, and spring is 85 days. And as I said, we wanted to share this with you all first. But we have feedback opportunities. This week, we have a meeting with our district improvement team committee, DIT. We have meetings scheduled with our teacher, student, superintendent council. We have PTO roundtable, all of many other meetings to look at as we consider those.
All right, and the calendar draft that Ms. Koenig just referenced, there's a visual for everyone if you look at the left side of the screen. And this draft starts with the first day of school on August 7th, a full week of fall break, October 13th through the 17th. This being the second year of redistricting in sports, we can plan ahead proactively on some traditions and events and games such as Leopard Friday. So you'll see a Leopard Friday already in there for October 24th. We're very careful not to schedule that during a break or during a teacher remote planning, something like that, so we can have the most community involvement. The last day of school, May 22nd, meaning graduation, May 23rd. And so I'll let you look at the visual just for a second before we go to the next slide. All right, and so these next two slides are kind of a comparison. So like Ms. Koenig said, this is a complete collaborative process so we can work together and put the best calendar out there for our students for that respective year. And so if you look at this, this is two kind of screenshots from the draft. Students attend 166 days. This is the one August 7th, first day of school, the full week of fall break down there in blue, so pay attention to that. Leopard Friday, and then last day of school would still be May 22nd. So this is just an illustration to show on this next slide. If we were to say, hey, we've collaborated, we want to look at what it's going to be if maybe we said August 7th is too soon and we want August 11th to be our first day of school. These are some things that then a domino effect we'd have to consider. So first day of school, August 11th. You could do a 3-day fall break still to keep that 166 days of school. What a lot of districts do is they will do that 3-day fall break and then they'll put in 2 PD days on like October and 16th and 17th for teachers. We've seen that done before. And then you would still keep your last day of school, May 22nd, with that same graduation date. And that's a date that we're contracted into with those event centers, right? And so we kind of backwards design the calendar from those graduation dates each year. Thank you. Any questions?
So we're not approving any calendar this evening.
No.
We're just taking a look at what the process is going to be. So y'all have meetings or defined time scheduled so that all community members can have an opportunity to chime in.
And if they have specific questions, they can always email to me also if there's specific questions. As I said, we have not gathered all that data yet. We still want to meet with teachers. We have shared it with our principals and some of our directors just to get some feedback, and we've already made a few tweaks and those types of things, but we still have a ways to go before, and then we hope to bring it back in December because we have people asking for it already for vacations. So.
Are there formal opportunities for teachers that are not part of these committees? That I know you said you're meeting with the committees, various, but are there other opportunities for feedback? What are the best routes for that?
So basically for the teacher superintendent council, all the teachers can submit questions to that specifically. So we will share this with them, of course, and they can submit questions and provide feedback there. These are the representatives that come to the meetings and ask the questions specifically. Yes. We did start that conversation at the last teacher one, but they have not seen the calendar because we share it with you all first.
So the start date on the 7th or the 11th, it sounds like we're leaning towards the 7th because of the contract impact. Is that right?
It does impact the contract, yes.
So this would
And
be-
even like the following year, it kind of happens as you work with calendars. So every 4 years, you kind of go through that where it gets a little bit earlier, but the following year, it's back later because of the way Memorial Day falls.
And so that'll be part of your feedback loop is kind of when the
Correct.
start day is. And just for clarification, this doesn't change the bell time, the bell schedules in this current calendar, is that correct?
At this time, no.
Have the number of days of instructional days changed?
Yes, this calendar includes 2 more instructional days, and of course, we would ask feedback for those 2. So it's 2 more instructional days. Those a couple of days, they could be used if we didn't want to make up bad weather days, those types of things, because we do plan 2 bad weather days, so we could use those and not have to make up the days if they would, if we have the minutes banked.
And then, being in a legislative session year, and there is some talk about having some new calendar requirements come in through the legislature. Has there been any discussion about contingency planning if things change, about if we approve something, but then it has to be changed down the road?
Or if the SAW changes, as it does every year after. But yes, of course, we've had to do that prior, but yes, we would definitely have to do that and share that with you. It seems to change later and later every year. I know this past year was late September. We are very open to feedback, so, from our community, from staff, we want the input. The thing about calendars, you can never make everyone happy. I went and I pulled every calendar in our area and surrounding districts to look at what they're doing. The trend right now is to put a fall break in, it seems like. Is what we're seeing. I looked at Allen and some of the local ones there. Frisco did a little bit different because they had voting this past year on their campuses, so they put it in November, but when I contacted others, they said they were moving it to October. So those are some of the trends that we're seeing around us, but we definitely want to be conscientious of those.
We'll look forward to hearing the feedback as we hear
Okay.
the calendar considerations when you bring that forward, so we understand,
De-
what that sounds like. A big concern is obviously employee morale and retention, and
Definitely.
hearing what they have to say as you consider the calendars would be helpful for us as well.
Okay. We will take that note. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the presentation. Item 17 tonight is the presentation of the 24-25 Bond Planning Committee update. Ms. Cordell, Mr. Percival, Mr. Willman.
Good evening. So just to bring forward an update, sorry, I feel like I'm leaning over this thing every time I present to try to get down to the microphone. But we wanted to bring forward and just give an update for our very first bond planning committee meeting that was held last month on October the 30th. Up on the screen, you'll see a list of 55 stakeholders that include members of our community, our residents. We also have students that are involved in this process, as well as a third-party facilitator. Dr. Lizzie Johnson is who is working with the committee and walking through that process. So just a shout out to those that are involved in the time and dedication that they've committed to this process for the school district, both for short-term and long-term considerations. So in that meeting, there was a little bit of housekeeping that happened on the front end. We went through the process. Dr. Johnson has a pretty rigorous process that she uses. So we went through a bit of an orientation on what that process will look like over the 6 meetings that will happen. And then we looked briefly at prior bond projects. And then Mr. Willman walked us through a comprehensive school finance 101 that was received really good feedback from those that attended. And then these are just some photos of that first meeting together. And you'll see that the groups are arranged. They're arranged actually in 9 table groups. And so each of those 9 table groups has a table facilitator that's a district employee. The groups will actually stay together throughout the process. That way they really start to learn each other's tendencies, strengths, kind of viewpoints, and there's a really good mix, I would say, at each of the table groups. And so we've got meeting 1 behind us, and we'll see everybody played really nicely on meeting 1. But I think things will be good conversations that will be had as we shift into meeting 2, which will actually happen tomorrow night. But just to recap, this has been quite a journey that actually started back in 2022 the board authorized the formation of a capital planning committee meeting, or a charter. And so that happened all the way back in November of '22. There was a couple meetings that happened in May of '23, and then due to the several special legislative sessions that were called throughout that fall, there was a bit of a delay in the work, and then kicked back off in January of '24. Met a total of 6 times throughout January of '24, touring all facilities, instructional facilities here in the district. In June of '24, the district, by way of authorization from the board, engaged with an architect, VOK Architects. And then we transitioned into August and went in with that the Capital Planning Committee to develop a long-range facility plan and some work there. And then that transitioned over on October the 30th for our Bond Planning Committee meeting. This is a one-page summary. I know it looks like 2 pages on my slide, but this is a one-page summary of key takeaways that committee members left the meeting with. They'll have a one-pager that they'll walk out the door with at the conclusion of each meeting to provide them with not only talking points, but a summary of key things that were discussed at each meeting. And then, as I mentioned, meeting 2 will be hosted tomorrow night. That will happen here at the LCDC cafeteria. We'll go over a demographic presentation and some data that will be presented by the district's demographer. We'll also go through components of the facility needs assessment that has been completed by the architect. They will present on that. And then there'll be some work within the tables. And then meeting 3 will actually be a facility tour, and that will happen on December the 14th, which is a Saturday morning. And we're going to do tours over at Hart, Transportation and Maintenance, Lovejoy High School, as well as Sloan Creek Intermediate. And so that's just a brief recap of what we did for meeting 1, what we plan to do during meeting 2, and then we'll resume our regular in-person meetings in December after we have that tour on the 14th. But I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys may have about the process or maybe components that were discussed in meeting 1.
Anybody have questions for?
Could you give us a preview of what the agenda is for tomorrow night?
So for tomorrow night, there'll be a presentation by the district's demographer. He's going to go through kind of the current trends and the demographic projections here for the school district. And then we'll go into VOK will actually present on facility needs assessment components that they've kind of conducted throughout the process, starting all the way back in June.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, consider an act on the Director of PEMS and District Data Support Systems. Ms. Koenig.
No, you're fine. Thank you. Okay, good evening. I'm asking consideration for consideration for Laura Little in the role of Director of PEMS and District Data Support Systems. I don't know if you know, but PEMS actually stands for the Public Education Information Management System, and basically it is a system that we are migrating from the Texas Student Data System to an EdFi system. And I know that's a lot of information, but it truly is a data position. Laura comes with us. She has 2 years of PEMS as a director in Forney ISD. She brings a wealth of knowledge of just collecting, analyzing, submitting data, and reporting PEMS data to us. Also ensuring the compliance with the SAW, too. She has been instrumental in supporting transitioning to that new EdFi reporting system. So basically, the system takes the HR component, our staff and teachers. It takes finance, Thomas's, his information. It takes student data, and it takes a lot of technology to put it all together and pull the systems to determine what we input. So our first submission date, so Region 10 is December 5th. The second one is the 12th to the state, and those are done periodically throughout the year there. Ms. Little holds a BBA in International Business from Texas Tech. She has a master's in secondary education from Texas A&M Commerce, and she's also a doctoral candidate there with an anticipated graduation date in 2025. Her background does include to be a former administrator and has been in central office the past several years there. So at this time, we are making a recommendation to approve Laura Little as the new Director of PEIMS and District Data Support Systems. If you have questions for me.
Is this a new position?
Actually, we're restructuring the PEIMS position, just the importance of it. We're looking at that, and so we're changing that somewhat, but restructuring the system. So it's not, I don't want to say it's not a new position, it's just a different position, yeah.
Is this a new state requirement to upload all the data? Or is
The new EdFi system, is a new system. They did a pilot 2 years ago. Last year, they did a parallel where districts were able to do two. There's been lots of, I don't want to say lots, there's been some concerns about the uploads and the management of it. We're working very closely with Region 10. It's somewhat of a different language from what I understand, and from some of the webinars I've been involved in, you get errors when you submit some of the submissions, and just having to go back and investigate and dig through where those errors are coming from. It's very intense, it's very labor intense, and you have to know student coding, you have to know the finance part of it, and of course also we look at everything from teacher certification, all of those types of things, years of service. When you think of the TAPER report, that brings it all together, and so these are all the different systems that kind of bring that together too. Good questions. Any others I can answer?
Any
for
other
you?
questions?
I move that we approve the Director of PEIMS and District Data Support Systems as presented.
So moved. Julie McLaughlin.
Second.
Second, Jeff Wood. All in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Opposed? Thank you. All right, item 19 is cabinet reports. Dr. Tinsley, it looks like you're up first.
Thank you. Just wanted to lift up some of the work that we've been doing on our campuses this year, and you've heard us talk about in our learning communities how we talk a lot about collaboration and growing and learning from each other. And this is a structure that learning walks are set up so that we can create conditions to where we have those opportunities to learn and grow from each other. So I wanted to lift up what we're doing and then kind of give you some insight on what the outcomes that we're seeing. So why learning walks? It gives us opportunity to see learning in action, spot best practices, and we're really trying to focus a lot on celebrating the work and lifting up what we value as a learning community. It's also opportunities to share practices and to see that in action, not just by administrators, but also teachers. Teachers go into other teachers' classrooms and learn and grow from each other. It also lets us kind of see the experience through the students' eyes. If we go in sometimes, what the kids are doing, we'll just say, okay, talk to us about what's going on, what are you doing, what are you gaining from this? So we lean into the student experience as well too. We look for opportunities for growth that we may have as a district or in a specific content area. It also allows us to look for maybe things that might be getting in the way. We look at, are we teaching our standards? Are we aligned with what we say we're going to do? And then it's really, we try to go in with a way that it's not an evaluation that you would normally see in a formal teacher evaluation that the administrator or the campus or a school walk through. So they're different from that. And we kind of see small snapshots. So we may just go and say, I was on one last week when we were looking at 5th grade science classrooms. We were looking at labs, we were looking at what they were doing, what they might need, supports that they might need, and then we debrief on that. So who participates? Pretty much anybody. Our campus administrators are always a part of that. From our curriculum instruction department, you might see coordinators, you might see our MTSS leads, teachers, the superintendent. Also, sometimes we're getting into classrooms to see and we're celebrating, and we talk about, really, it just kind of fills our bucket when we're able to get into classrooms and be back with kids and teachers. And then what would it look like? Sometimes it can be 30 minutes, sometimes it might be 90 minutes. We try to build in time so that we can debrief and kind of talk about next steps that we're going to do. We tried to shoot for a minimum of every other week on each campus. Sometimes that's happening, sometimes it's not, but that's kind of a goal. Sometimes some campuses, depending on the schedule, can get several done in a week. They may not get one done for 3 weeks, but we kind of honor the schedule and let the campus principal drive how they schedule that. And these are in addition to classroom walkthroughs and teacher observations, but they're totally separate. It's really to build collaboration and really build capacity with us as a team. I'm going to kind of lift up a sample. So this was something, and it was campus driven. I was out on campus last week, and this is what the campus really wanted to focus on. So they had what they were looking for: learning targets in the classroom. Were we clear? Were the kids clear what their learning target was? And then how were we holding kids accountable for their learning? So this was just something that campus really wanted to focus on in those walks. We didn't look at specific content areas. They just wanted to lift that up. So that's kind of that we take the guidance of the campus of what they want to focus on during those walks. And then again, feedback is important. It's only as good as what we do with the information. So many times it can be specific. It may be about lifting up specific strategies, or maybe how you can just tweak that just to get a little bit more in-depth level of instruction with our kids. We talk about collaboration and how we're learning together and sharing our best practices. One of our principals this morning was talking about a particular team that went and visited. They did learning walks in grade levels, 2 grade levels below them. And they were looking for similarities so that we had alignment for children as they were moving up through the campus. But they were also able to, it was affirming for them, but also some new learning came out of that. We always really try to keep the feedback very positive. One of the campuses today, I was copied on an email they sent out to the entire staff, and it was based on that learning walk. And what they did, they just celebrated what they saw in those learning walks. And I think that also communicates, when you're celebrating, you're communicating what you value about learning. And then again, we try to move to where we're growth. So it's just not the focus on student growth, but it's growth as professionals that we do as well. So again, this is just another opportunity for us to help support our teachers and our kiddos.
Any questions for Dr.
A quick one. How do we make sure the teachers don't feel like it's Big Brother and they're not being micromanaged in this process?
You know, we have conversations with our teachers of the why, and our principals have been very, very intentional about that. And we've had some questions as to why, but, you know, if we as a learning community, it is about growth. And you're starting to see that teachers do value the feedback. They're asking for the feedback as we're coming into classrooms and visiting. But we always really try to communicate the why and what the purpose is.
Can you clarify, you mentioned a classroom walkthrough and the teacher observations, and that this is in addition. What's a classroom walkthrough? I'm not familiar with it.
Great question. So part of our TPES is that there is a formal 45-minute observation that our teachers participate in. They also are a big part of setting their goals. They meet with an administrator prior to their observation. They talk about what they want their principals to look for. These are the goals they've set for themselves. They do the observations, and then the principal does a formal debrief where there's a written observation. Walkthroughs, we've asked for our principals to do where they're going in and they're giving feedback to a particular teacher. So we have a minimum number of walkthroughs that we ask our teachers,
our principals to conduct. And that's very specific to that particular teacher right there. So you're really getting not just that one snapshot of that 45-minute observation, you're kind of seeing it over time of what's going on. We don't give that type of feedback. That's not something, because I'm not an evaluator. The supervisor is the evaluator. So anything that we do with this, it's not evaluative in nature. It's really to lift up what we are celebrating.
So I'm still not sure I'm completely clear on the difference between the classroom walkthrough and then these learning walks. So can you maybe?
Learning walk can include teachers. A teacher would not go in and do a classroom walkthrough.
And is this new this year, Lori? This is something you're implementing?
No, from what my understanding is, it's fairly new, I would say, since kind of post-COVID. From my understanding, these were happening pretty frequently here in the district prior to that. And then also, I think there were some minimum expectations at that time to give teacher feedback and walkthroughs as well, too.
And then is this something that is common in other districts or something that's unique to Lovejoy?
It's very common. You would see it in districts that, especially if you're going to have this collaborative culture to where we share our practices together. So it's really kind of getting away from the isolation to where you're closing your classroom door and you're really teaching in isolation. It's really creating that community of learners.
And so as a classroom teacher, you got one formal observation per year, per semester?
You want to take it from a HR standpoint?
Yes. Basically, if you're brand new into the teaching field, you do two. You do one that's basically kind of a set date and time, and then you do one that you're given a 2-week window. But according to our board policy, is we must evaluate teachers and provide feedback for them. But there's just the walkthroughs provide, because you don't want it to be a one-shot. What if it's not a good day, or those types of things? And even sometimes teachers will wave an administrator off to come back. But to do several walkthroughs to provide feedback to make sure that every child is getting a guaranteed and viable curriculum, and you're not. We want to make sure that even across the grade level or subject matter, it's all at the same standard, that all kids are receiving those priority standards, that they're all being taught that.
So experienced teachers, one formal observation
Correct.
a year, maybe a couple of walkthroughs by the administrator, and then learning walks, they might or might not have people coming through, or it's just good, or could they have multiple during?
It's good practice just to do it, and most of them enjoy it. And in fact, I was this Friday night, a couple of the coaches were telling me they just had one, and the feedback that they received was just very positive.
They're not going to be surprised by this, and it's not going to be something that's overwhelming because it's people coming in and out of their classroom every single week. That sort of is that. So it's just trying to understand what expectations the teachers should have as far as.
It's very much a collaborative professional learning community.
I understand but I also, to Mr. Wheelis's question earlier, you don't want it to become so overwhelming that it starts to become disruptive to their process either. So I'm just trying to understand it, yeah.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay. Tonight I'm going to go over, just as we always periodically do, just go over enrollment, kind of where we are in the district, and give an update to you. Currently, just as far as Lovejoy High School, we have, and this is ADA enrollment, we have 1566, which is very common. Usually we have close to 1,600 at the high school, and you can see by grade level and what our class average is there. We also, at Willow Springs, have class averages there and almost 700 students there. The asterisk means teacher residents are also in those grade levels, 7th and 8th, and we'll talk a little bit about those too. Sloan Creek, that's the current average for 5th and 6th grade, and we do have student averages. Our averages at Sloan Creek are actually much higher than we want them to be, and I can tell you, Ms. Puckett and I talk pretty frequently. We actually had more teachers. We had 2 teachers that we had assigned that have not been hired. We've been looking for 2 teachers there. We offered before school started. We thought the person was going to take it, and they didn't take it in one position. one position. We had also, we had a certified teacher in there that found another position that she was looking forward to for her path for professional development there. But we actually, this past week, I know that they were interviewing 2 others and had given tours, and Ms. Puckett was doing the final interview this week on that. But those are definitely higher than we would like them to be at Sloan Creek. Hart listed the waivers there, and we do have student residents there and what the averages are and those grade levels. There, once again, we hope to get those, we like those student residents, which are, if you recall, are full-time student teaching that are helping with those numbers there too. And we have Puster, we also have waivers there, a few less there, just because that's the way that the enrollment kind of landed there. We definitely, as we talk about waivers, we actually wanted, we were hoping to get, we currently have 7 teacher residents. One's graduating in December that we've just interviewed and are hoping to hire. We actually we're trying to get 4 others. However, that is definitely a process to get those residents. Not all college participates in that program. UTD does, and Texas A&M Commerce, of course, does. And we have them actually send us all that they can support because we have a grant for that. We had one that didn't finish all the coursework and no longer qualified. We had one that we tried desperately to find a roommate over here and support housing, and then we had basically one that could not do it because they needed to work full-time and do a different type of student teaching there. So that did impact the residents that we thought on some of the campuses. Here's our current enrollment by school and our total 3951 as of that day for K-12 enrollment there. Questions for me?
Other than Sloan Creek, are there other areas where we're looking to add staff to hopefully to benefit the averages?
We're definitely looking to add either aides or teachers there. You know, what is difficult is we knew that back when we developed the budget process in February and March, we knew our class sizes were going to be higher due to funding. We know the basic allotment has not been increased since 2019, and that definitely impacts. I do want to make it clear, the classes, Lovejoy Scholars has nothing really to do with the class sizes. You know, we had looked at those. We still have a waiting list and have had with Lovejoy Scholars. But I think right now we're going to job fairs. We're looking actively for teachers and hoping to get those joined. We even have several job fairs for the spring too. In the fall, you don't have as many graduate, so it's even a limited number than we do in the spring. So we put a lot of effort in the spring. Also, we will be doing, we've already gone out and started monitoring those teachers, observing them, you know, doing some, watching them in the classroom so we can offer contracts earlier this past year. And as I said, there's some that graduate in December that we're hoping to get on board too. Yes, ma'am?
If the enrollment shifts drastically between Hart and Puster, do y'all ever consider having kids go to the opposite school to try to
We did
balance
that
it out?
with some of our staff kids. We actually, they because we didn't have room, that, you know, they were already there, we did that. We hate to do that to the parents because that's what you feed into. And I think sometimes transportation and some of those types of things impact it. But we do monitor it. I will tell you that before, you know, we're small enough that we're able to monitor. We get, you know, they will call us, Elizabeth, they'll call us over here and we, you know, ask what should we do. And so we do monitor that. And that is a suggestion that we've talked about before. Sometimes a parent may be willing to do that. Yeah. Good question. Yes.
Maybe last one. Do you expect that the number of waivers and change is going to dramatically change through the year? Typically, are they typically set by this
They
time?
pretty much here are stable. They did change a little bit because we might, you know, a student might have withdrawn, and then we've had some enrolled. So they did impact grade levels a little bit separately, you know, so that happens sometimes. But here we really do not increase them. Also, this year waivers were due later. When I reached out to other districts to see, kind of, some of them have already submitted them, but the waiver process usually opens October. It did not open till November. So some of them have not submitted them yet. As when I was talking to them, they're like, yes, we have quite a few waivers in surrounding districts, but we're still trying to get the data because they're larger and are submitting those. But we do ask those questions. Yes, ma'am?
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Good evening, Board. So a quick update on finance. So at the end of October, we have roughly 145 days of cash on hand. I just wanted to lift up the importance of having a healthy cash balance at this point in time of the year, since we're a district that's so heavily dependent on our local tax collections. We typically receive a majority of our cash coming towards the end of December, into January and February. So we're taking most of our cash the cash inflows that we receive in that 3 months and fund throughout the year. So being able to have a healthy cash balance at this point in time, it allows us to get through November and December comfortably without any concerns to meet payroll and our expenses. As you can see here with the October collections, we've only collected roughly 217,000 of local tax collection in the month of October. We'll start seeing a lot, once the tax bill goes out, we'll start seeing an increase in collection starting in November, but we'll really see a heavy tax collection starting in December. And then as it relates to student nutrition, again, wanted to share kind of the annual comparison through the end of October. What you'll see here is we're still seeing a decline in overall participation year over year. And like we mentioned last month, the 21 year was the last year of the free meals. I do want to lift up that we did see an improvement month over month from September to October in the current year compared to the previous years. We had a 1% increase in participation on the revenue side, where in the previous year it was about a 0.1%. So we did see a good increase month over month. And then next month, we do anticipate that we're still going to be on track to have a balanced budget with the student nutrition, but next month we're going to provide you with a meal cost or cost of food and kind of our overall staffing, so we have a sense of how our expenses are either climbing or declining year over year compared to our revenues. So we'll have a better visibility into kind of the overall performance of student nutrition. So happy to answer any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, just making sure I'm not jumping ahead. Just a real quick District Support Services Cabinet update. Our first update is something that I mentioned back in October. These are shots of both a condenser coil and an evaporator coil on a rooftop unit over at Puster that services the cafeteria. A few Fridays back, they had both of those two systems fail. As I'd mentioned, it was right in the middle of an assembly that they were working through. I believe it was their talent show, unfortunately, but these have since been repaired. We contracted that service through a third party and had them come out and make those repairs. So I just wanted to highlight that. And then the other thing that I wanted to showcase is that on November 11th, which was some professional development, took place around the district. Our school marshal team utilized that time to work on both tactical entry and close quarter combat training. And so these guys take every opportunity they can to hone their skills here inside our school district, which is really nice because they're actually utilizing the campuses that they serve and work in every day. And that just helps them become more and more familiar with that space in the event that they need to respond in a situation. So wanted to bring that forward. And those are my two updates. The third one doesn't have a slide, but just a plug. Still looking for anybody that'd like to drive a school bus here for Lovejoy ISD. No CDL needed. We will happily pay you and train you and get you taken care of. So please come see us if you're interested. Or maybe you just have questions. We're happy to visit with you. But any questions, I'm happy to take.
On the bottom left picture, are they doing push-ups or what's going on there?
They are, so they're doing push-ups to get that heart rate going before they take off again, because in a stressful situation, you're not going to be calm. Your heart rate's going to be elevated, and so these guys like to train that way. Great question.
Thank you, Kyle.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Student Services Cabinet Report. We are going to do athletics first and then finish with the Fine Arts Festival update. So varsity football, very exciting. We beat Mansfield Timberview in the first round of the playoffs last Friday. That was a home game, but now going into round 2, we meet at neutral sites. We are actually one of the farthest schools that's east in our region. And so this Friday, we have the opportunity to play a school from El Paso in the second round. And so we will be traveling to a neutral site in Midland, Texas on Friday. And we have that round 2 playoff game against them at 7 p.m. And so we've worked hard today to arrange transportation, make sure our kids and supporters get out there safely. Oh, we tried. So, varsity volleyball, really, really proud of their season, district champs, and then regional finalists. They lost a hard-fought game to Frisco Wakeland on Friday as well, but a great season. Proud of Coach Bates, proud of the entire team. As you saw tonight, just a quick recap, varsity boys cross-country state champions, varsity girls cross-country state runner-up. Really proud of those head coaches and both those entire programs. And then moving forward, in addition to hopefully football updates as they continue their playoff run, be looking for soccer, wrestling, basketball, swim and dive updates on the cabinet reports from Student Services. Moving into Fine Arts Festival, you and connect with Katie and other district newsletters, you've seen the flyer with this information on it. A quick recap, December 3rd, Dance and Color Guard. December 5th is the opening where the students who have artwork displayed. Really the big art event is December 5th. And then below that, you'll see the gallery remains open to the public December 6th through the 12th. December 5th, 6th, and 7th, Charlotte's Web, 7 p.m. start times. We're excited about the children's play. And then Saturday, December 7th, the Holiday Art Fair in the courtyard. Come and go, but students will have their paintings and work there set up in the courtyard. Lovejoy Choir Program on December 9th. The vertical alignment, as you see, continuing with orchestra on the 10th and finishing with our Lovejoy Band concert, vertical alignment concerts on December 12th. And so we're excited for Fine Arts and look forward to seeing you guys there in the community there. Questions on anything?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, Superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Owens. Dr. Zambezi gave me a great segue. I just wanted to thank our fine arts teachers for all the tremendous work that they have done on this Fine Arts Festival schedule. It is a heavy lift, and they've been working for months and months on it. And we are very excited when we get back from the Thanksgiving break to enjoy all of the hard work of our students and our fine arts teachers and directors. There will be some amazing sounds and sights for sure as a part of that. Also, at the beginning of our meeting, we got to hear from some of our transition students. Trenton, Reagan, and Avery did a phenomenal job of sharing the great work that they are doing in their transition program, and wanted to make sure our entire special education team knew how much we support and are grateful for the program that they have really put a lot of love and time into building and growing. And it has been absolutely remarkable to know our students and to see their growth and progression discussion as they've been a part of that program. A special thank you to you, board, and to the foundation for the resources that you have provided to make that happen. And what Mrs. Foster said is absolutely true. It's not just the students that are currently in the program that are benefiting. Really, all of the work that they are doing is going to support and make an impact on all of the other future students that will be part of that program as well. So we are very proud that that has been an area in the district that has been a goal that we've had, because we have not had a transition program space or the level of program that we know our students need and deserve, and are very excited about that. And then, of course, want to thank all of the PTO members and all of our community members who so generously have been writing letters for the letter campaign. That is a heavy lift that our PTO is involved in, as well as our PTO and our parents for all the work that they are doing on the pies. And we know that is a much-loved tradition that deeply impacts our staff right before they go out on their Thanksgiving holiday. And on that note, they very much feel a sense of gratitude, and they are able to go into their break and enjoy that time with their family, rejuvenate, reconnect, and then come back and finish the semester strong when we hit December.
Thank you for that update, Ms. Cordell. And with that, we would be adjourned.
No comments.
Jeff, you want to take over? Public comments before we adjourn. Item 21, any public comments related to non-agenda items? All right, there being none, then we'll